Hey, how's it going? It's your challenger coach, Moriarty here to bring you our newest video series, Pick of the Patch for 9.23, where our experts choose our favorite staple and up-and-coming picks. So without any further delays, let's just jump right into it. For the top lane, Prohibit's pick of the patch will be Quinn. He says that Quinn didn't receive any direct changes, but her items did receive a significant overhaul. The new lethality items give her more options to play a split pusher / assassin playstyle, while the reworked marksman items give her more sustained damage or DPS options. The most prevalent item for sure though for her newfound success is gonna have to be the Sanguini Blade. Sanguine Blade, this is just gonna give her such a boost in the laning phase where she's already strong, it's just gonna make her even stronger, while also maintaining her ability to keep her build flexible later on. Itemization wise, unlike me, Prohibit prefers the crit route after Sanguini Blade, following up with a Stormrazor into IE, which is fine because he never really agrees with my crazy build ideas anyways and prefers a more mathematical approach to finding his. And for the runes, he recommends press the attack with Domination secondary for better roaming and lane sustain. With that said, look to pick up Quinn if you like roaming, but for some reason ended up in top lane, or you like to bully enemy bruiser players and laugh at their inability to deal with ranged lane bullies. Next up, his more unconventional pick will be a blast from the past with Hecarim potentially returning to the top lane. He says that the insane amounts of healing and extra AD from the new Conqueror is just gonna benefit top lane Hecarim a lot. He says that Trinity Force is the most important item on Hecarim, and solo lane Hecarim gets the benefit of spending all of his early gold towards getting it instead of jungle items, making him potentially better from the top lane. For the build, you're gonna wanna rush Trinity Force into Righteous Glory and then Spirit Visage, but you can feel free to throw in a Ghost Blade if you are snowballing over the Righteous Glory instead. As for his runes, it's nothing fancy. You take Conqueror with Inspiration secondary for Biscuit's Time Work Tonic so that you can more easily run straight at your opponent during the laning phase. Okay, so the other added bonus of playing Hecarim top lane is you don't have to take Flash. Instead, you're usually just gonna take Ignite, giving him insane solo kill potential. As long as you get to know how much consistent damage he can do, you can easily cheese people just by stacking your Q on the minion wave and then all-inning them with Ignite and Corrupting Pod advantage. Pick him up if you're a big fan of Darius or Garen, but just hate being kited and really like to take Ignite. Now let's move on to the jungle, where our jungle expert flares his first pick of the patch will be Wolf God Warwick. He says, holy smokes, he actually talks like this, has Warwick skyrocketed in popularity and win rate with the new patch, with a 54.4% win rate and a 6% play rate. With the new Elemental Drakes being the new primary focus of a team's win condition for the preseason, Warwick easily takes the cake as the #1 jungler in the preseason. Warwick has a powerful, high-speed clear that allows him to farm the jungle with ease, solo the Elemental Dragons, and has an amazing gank potential to boot. For the build, he recommends you rush Tiamat and then go Warrior Enchant with Red Smite if you snowballed, but Cinderhulk otherwise if you didn't. But after that, you can either go Dead Man's Plate or Spirit Visage depending on the enemy team composition, and then follow it up with the Titanic Hydra, rounding out the core build. You'll also happen to note that on the screen I chose to put the Warrior build up, and that's because with how strong Warwick is, I'm just assuming you're gonna snowball. Warwick's runes are going to be pretty simple though. You're going to take Press the Attack or Conquer, it's totally up to you, and people are still deciding on which one is the better one, with Sorcery secondary for more river control. And as we all know, river control is the most important thing in the game. You're going to want to pick up Warwick though if you like hunting down enemies on low HP for free kills, soloing dragons at random times, and then if it works, you're thinking you have some insane macro sense, but when it fails, you just blame lane priority. And lastly, if you like a scrappy in-your-face early game playstyle. Next up, we have Flares, his second pick of the patch, Forced Archer Kindred. He says, hey y'all, he really does talk like this. I want to give the spotlight over to cow and chicken. Sorry, I mean wolf and lamb. Come on, Ryan, I can't believe you made me read that. Anyways, she easily kites camps and her opponents, shreds through enemies, and a clutch teamfight ultimate. With quicker uptime on jungle camps, that means quicker spawn times for Kindred marks, thus increasing her snowballing rate exponentially given that you can actually secure those marks. Which, if I'm gonna be honest, is way easier to do in Season 10 because you actually have the spawn timers for all camps in the game, making it a lot easier for Kindred players to predict where the mark is gonna spawn. For itemization, it's a little bit undecided, but the core build you can do is Warrior with Red Smite or Blood Razor depending on how tanky the enemy team is, followed by the new Storm Razor, a Zeal item, which is most commonly Rapid Fire Cannon or PD. After that, you got a bunch of options, but a standard one is just to go IE with a defensive item last like GA. For her runes, at the moment, you can either go Press the Attack or Conqueror, but Conqueror seems to be more popular among higher elo kindreds, and the standard for your secondary choice will be Domination. But a new setup with Nimbus Cloak is becoming extremely popular as well, as it allows Kindred just to smite someone for the extra movement speed to keep up so she can easily get the execute on her E. Pick up Kindred if you like an early aggressive invade style but still like that ability to scale for teamfights, and your ultimate can be used to turn a teammate's attempt to run it down into a perfectly calculated engage bait. Now we got the mid lane picks of the patch with your mid lane expert, moi, multi-time challenger coach RedMercy, and my pick will be none other than Nocturne. Okay, so everyone knows how strong Nocturne jungle is with the new Sanguini blade, but what some people might not know is he is in fact currently more overpowered as a laner in either top lane or mid lane, but he performs better in mid lane nonetheless. Even Korean pros or mid lane superstars like LPL All-Star Knight have been practicing him quite frequently during the preseason. Why, you might ask? Well, that's because not only does he counter melee assassins thanks to his spell shield and better dueling, he can also match or even beat a mage's wave clear. Once he gets his ult, it's pretty simple from there. All he does is he just pushes the lane and then leaves. He either chooses to use his ultimate to roam and kill a side lane, or if the mage tries to use too many abilities to wave clear, he just kills them instead. It's kind of like playing Talon, but somehow even easier. For his core build, you're going to want to go Sanguine Blade into Duskblade, followed by Guardian Angel, and after that, it doesn't matter too much, just build a lethality item, but it's most commonly Edge of Night. For the runes, mid lane, Nocturne can still take lethal tempo, it's still viable, but going Electrocute for that big one shot on the squishy targets, which are more common in mid lane, works better in my opinion. Pick up Nocturne mid if you like roaming assassins that split push, but you don't really want to rely on landing difficult things like skill shots like a Zed would have to. On to my second pick of the patch, it's gonna be Medusa ripoff Cassiopeia. Cassio has always been a menace going into the late game teamfight phase thanks to her insane DPS and extra item slot, but with such a fast-paced meta, many people may not have expected her to do even better in Season 10. What it really comes down to is her new Conqueror setup allows her to be more aggressive early on, but also gives her insane resilience in skirmishes thanks to the increased amount of healing and mana she gets. With Conqueror plus Presence of Mind, Cassio is able to easily clutch out fights in the early game thanks to the added mana reset and healing, making her a true 1v2 or even 1v3 champion in the mid lane. If you mess up a skirmish or gank versus her, she will turn that and kill everyone. It's kind of like a Darius. The build's pretty much the same. You're gonna keep it simple with Seraph's Embrace into Rallies into Leandri's, though you might notice many pros and high-level Cassios have been testing out a Roa first item. I only recommend doing that option when you're versus tougher lane matchups like Zed or Aurelia. For her runes, I mentioned stick with Conqueror Presence of Mind, with Domination secondary to stack some more healing. That means you're gonna want to pick up Cassiopeia if you're a Lane Kingdom type of player who enjoys outplaying ganks rather than being smart enough to potentially avoid them. Next up, we got the ball lane picks of the patch with our new ball lane expert, Lol, who is kind of my boss now. His first pick of the patch will be Kai'Sa. Might I add how smart, handsome, and talented he must be to pick such an amazing champion to highlight. Anyway, he says that she's been picker banned basically since release. She was finally nerfed near the end of Season 9 for Worlds, but now during the preseason, she's found a new way to be overpowered, and that's because of the buff Stormrazor. The new version of Stormrazor gives her the perfect amount of stats to level 10. You can upgrade her Q from Stormrazor AD from Rageblade and Endurance Blade. The attack speed from it also allows you to upgrade your E from just the attack speed from Rageblade and your Berserker Greaves. That means that the crit allows you to reach 75% easier and arguably make her crit build scale even better than her past iterations. For her core build on the crit Kai'Sa, you will not be going Amane at all. Instead, you're just going to rush Stormrazor into Rageblade followed by a Zeal item, but it's most commonly Runon's Hurricane. For her runes, you're going to want to pretty much stick with the same kind of stuff as in the past. Press the attack and Bloodline since you don't build lifesteal early on, and then Inspiration secondary for free boots and biscuits. You're gonna want to pick up Kai'Sa if you want to main the champion with likely the strongest ADC kit, except maybe Aphelios, because that's kind of like the final spawn of certain T, so he might come out on top, but I'm still thinking Kai'Sa's gonna remain number one. She's kind of like Kha'Zix in a sense. It doesn't matter how many times she's nerfed or how many times her build changes, she still finds a way to stay relevant. That means that our glorious leader's next pick will be another fantastic choice boss, Senna. He says that Senna is the newest champion to hit the Rift, and even though she has played a lot more as a support, her ADC win rate is actually higher with an absurd win rate of 55% with a 6% pick rate at Diamond Plus. It's actually crazy. What gives her so much of that strength is the Manamune first, giving her a lot of extra mana, it helps her poke, it stacks up pretty quickly, and it lets her spam her heal to push waves. We can then move into lethality, and that will completely stomp the mid-game phase and finally end up with something like IE to maximize her damage output in the late game. Her only downside is she can't really self-peel all that well. She does have her W and her E to escape, but once someone's actually physically on you, she tends to just die. So as long as you can avoid that by proper kiting and positioning during the laning phase and you get a couple items on you, you'll be able to pump out insane amounts of DPS going into the mid to late game. That means that her core build is going to be Manamune, Duskblade into Ghostblade, as she wants to stack as much AD as possible as quickly as possible. For her runes, you're going to want to stick with Dark Harvest as your keystone, as it allows you to stack even more to scale in the late game, as well as use your ultimate to snipe people out. As for your secondary tree, stick with Precision so that you can take Presence of Mind plus some extra damage from Coup de Grace. Now, I know that Senna AD carry in particular is getting the nerf bat next patch, but I still recommend you pick her up, as even if her nerfs go through, she would have to drop more than 3% for her to be not overpowered anymore, and I just don't think that's going to happen. So if you want to abuse a champion with absurd utility and scaling, pick up Senna. Onto the support picks of the patch with our support expert Pickle Pants, who challenged me to a Janna 1v1 this week on stream at 1 PM PST on either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Little does he know, I have never lost a Janna 1v1 in my life. His first pick of the patch will be a pretty generic champion, and that's Senna. He says that she is the latest champion to hit Summoner's Rift, so it should be pretty obvious as to why he picked it for his pick of the patch. Senna is a strong lane bully with a good amount of sustain in lane. She can bully out the enemy ADC and support with a single combo. Her ultimate can also come in clutch to save her allies and is very useful during teamfights. He says that as Senna is still super new and she is performing incredibly well, she can only get better once people have actually ironed out the best possible rune choices and starting item plus builds. He recommends that you start off with Duskblade Athene's Edge of Night as her core, but you can substitute other lethality items as needed. For her runes, he recommends that you keep it simple with Airy Primary and Resolve Secondary to make it easier to keep yourself and others alive. You're gonna want to pick up Senna support if you're a support player who's just tired of your AD carries always failing you and you just can't deal with it anymore. With Senna support, you can deal just as much damage as they do while not having the last hit, alright? Next up, we got Pickle's second pick of the patch, and it's surprisingly not Shaco, even though he totally could've. In fact, it's instead Xerath. He says that now that supports don't have to upgrade their support item for that hard-earned cash, AP supports can go straight into building full AP. A lot of the items that AP supports like Xerath need are not cheap, so no longer needing the usual upgrade cost has helped them out a lot, and now they can actually start raining terror all over bot lane. For the core build, you're just gonna go Luden's, Zhonya's Death Cap, and make sure you get those Sork boots. Just a quick note about the build, the Zhonya second is actually pretty important compared to mid lane when you're playing mage supports, as mage supports often get focused down during team fights by divers or assassins as they see them as just free money, and when you don't have Zhonya's as a Xerath support, you are free money. For your runes, you're gonna go with a lane-focused, poke-oriented setup with Comet Scorch with Inspiration Secondary to help with mana sustain and survival thanks to perfect timing and biscuits. Pick up Xerath support if you're a mid laner playing support and you don't know how to actually carry on real support champions, or you're someone who can just land skill shots. That's it for our pick of the patch video for 9.23. Make sure to check out more Mobalytics content on this YouTube channel or our website at mobalytics.gg. I'm Moriarty, and I'll see you out on the Rift.